Ciao a tutti, this is Prof. Joe with a special and quickly announced and quickly produced show tonight. And this thanks to Amber, who can get things done on the spur of the moment. And we have Lauren Neidigh with us. Neidigh, I'm going to get it wrong. Neidigh, I can't do it. Court of Random Opinion, who has been one of the very first, if not the first, channel creator who has been on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni lawsuit and what led up to it and all the ancillary issues. And so if there's anyone who can talk with some level of informed judgment about what's going on, certainly full informed judgment about what's been going on and speculating about what may happen, it's she. And so we're really pleased to have her on. So I'm going to bring her on right now.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, Lauren.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So were you, and I should say, I'm not even so sure if I said this, the case settled a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I don't think it's even been an hour. Yeah. I'm not sure. I've kind of lost all sense of time since that news came out. But,
so let me say, were you surprised?
Yes, I was. I really thought for sure. I was actually thinking she was the one who would not settle. I really thought she wouldn't, especially after that parade she did on Instagram after the judgment on the summary judgment motion. I really thought that there's no way for your image. There's no way you can settle right now. But they got her to back down, in my opinion. So.
Well, they got her to back down, but the statement that was issued by both of them, which I have here, I don't think gave Justin Baldoni much at all. All they did was kind of agree that people should have a right to bring these sorts of lawsuits,
right?
And concerns should be raised, and they're committed to workplace policies free of improprieties. That's a direct quote. And it's our sincere hope that we get closure. And let's see if there's anything else here. Raising awareness is a good thing. That's a paraphrase. I mean, there's nothing where she says, I'm sorry.
No,
comes close to it.
That was never going to happen, in my opinion. She was never going to give an apology. Nobody was ever really going to give an apology on either side, I thought. But this was like I thought it was a diplomatic way of putting it, and probably the best it was going to get.
Yeah, well, if I were he, but of course
yeah,
I don't tend to agree to things when I think something is wrong. I'm willing to fight.
I know what you mean. I would have totally, if I were them, I would have been like, absolutely not. We're doing this thing. You know what I mean? But that's just me. I mean, I think these people have been through a lot, and I can't really say how I would feel if I were them right now after all of this time and all this like public beating they took in the beginning, and just like the way things have gone up and down for them. I can't say what I would do in that position, because I hopefully will never be in that position, so.
Yeah, well, I will say that I can say what I would be like in that position. I've never been on your side of these. I can pretty well predict. The only thing that might have given me pause is all the money's been spent already, and although it looks to me like this was a slam dunk for him, you never know for sure. And if you're looking at even more damages, that might have given me pause. But otherwise, there's nothing. His reputation has been, taken through the mud. So there's nothing more that could happen to him in terms of reputation or impact on career. And so if I were he, I would have said, let's go full speed ahead. See what you can show.
Yeah. I just think when I was looking at everything, I was like, this is a little bit tricky, because it also depends on like what the judge is going to allow to proceed to trial, evidence wise, expert wise. When I was looking at some of the social media experts, which they were supposed to have that hearing on this Friday, I was like, a lot of this is junk science. But if he allows the experts to come in, then that junk science might confuse a jury in a way that does not go well for him. I don't know. I obviously don't think that her claims had a lot of merit, but I can't tell you however many jurors are going to feel. So.
Yeah, well, jurors are always, a roll of the dice. That's true. But, Normally, they do what you expect them to do, and even when they don't do quite what you expect them to do, you can see how they got there. It's rare that you get, in my opinion, rare that you get a jury verdict that it seems to be not possible to explain in any way
Mhm.
or shape or form.
Would that have to
This,
have been a unanimous verdict?
they're in federal court.
Yeah.
Civil, I don't know whether I think it is unanimous in several civil court, federal,
Okay.
but that's a really good question. I don't know for sure. Uh, Unanimity, even on the criminal side, is not a constitutional right. So it's really, except at the federal level, it is. It's in the states, it's not a constitutional right. And the states have gone to, as non-unanimous juries, fewer than 12 jurors. I
Mhm.
don't think that's true on the federal level. Uh,
Okay.
but I can't swear to it because I don't, civil trials are not what I do all the time, and it's not where I spend most of my time looking. But I think it's unanimous and 12, even on the civil side federally.
Mhm.
Uh, but what I was going to say about experts is, I've heard people say that what experts find very difficult to explain, regular people have much less trouble working their way through all the, what would it be, the chafe, and getting to the common sense result here.
Gotcha.
Uh,
The
but
closest
we
I've
don't
ever
know.
come, the closest I've ever come to hearing like expert testimony is like watching your thing on Corey Richins. Actually, I've never watched expert testimony before, so I watched some of your trial coverage, and it was just like we were asking. I don't remember who it was. It wasn't even an expert. It was a PI. I was like, I've never watched someone get, asked questions like this on the stand. It was the
Mhm.
sarcastic PI or whatever.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to how that goes. So I
He
was
was,
like, oh
but he
wow.
was a very good witness. He
Yeah.
could have been, for those of you, I think a lot of people here have seen it. He could have been slightly less sarcastic,
Yeah.
although I don't think from the jurors who were interviewed, they didn't mind, and I certainly didn't mind. But he was great at not letting on cross them reframe anything
Hmm.
or stick in even the tiniest little fact that was off. He
Yeah.
was terrific. And there are very few witnesses who are, there he is, who are that good, expert or not.
Yeah.
But he really was. There was another expert in Corey Richins, the forensic accountant, who
Ah.
was first rate, going through all the numbers and making it clear, I think, to jurors. But let's get back here, because this one really threw me.
Mhm.
I really thought she would. Well, I didn't think she was going to apologize either, but I really thought that Wayfarer wouldn't give in if she didn't give some semblance of a mea culpa.
Yeah.
Maybe not, I apologize, but I may have misconstrued the circumstances. In retrospect, now that I look at it,
Yeah.
maybe I didn't understand it right. I just came off a pregnancy and my hormones were flying in all directions, and
Mhm.
maybe I wasn't exercising, the best judgment. And then I dug in because I was so sure I was right. But now, after all this time and calm reflection, I see that,
Yeah.
maybe I kind of uh, exaggerated or went too far. I think they could have done something like that. It wouldn't have been apology for her, but I think on Baldoni's side, it would have been, clearer as to
Yeah,
what
it
was
makes
going on.
sense. It makes sense to me, but then I keep going back to like the reason they probably didn't. They might have conceded a little bit. Is like we're dealing with somebody who Sony and others, or like at least two people from Sony, called a terrorist. They said there's no winning with her, and that was in just a few months span of working with her on a movie. So I got to imagine this has been just awful for them behind the scenes. I'm sure.
I'm
So.
sure, but for him, I don't know how many people have followed this case closely enough to know that's what was the Sony testimony. I don't
Mhm.
know how many are followed it well enough to see what was coming out in the discovery the last couple of weeks, with her being caught in what looked like an outright lie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which
with
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, with regard to, get
Yeah.
rid of these dailies. And what I thought was
Right.
completely ironic was, this is at the same time what they accused the Wayfair parties of destroying evidence, before there was any order
Right.
saying that you have to preserve anything. And yet she's sitting on things that she was doing at a point
Right.
at which She wasn't supposed to be getting rid of anything.
Yep.
But I don't know how much of that really gets out.
I mean,
And
I obviously noticed because I've been watching this stuff pretty closely, and then I talked about it the other night, but I'm not sure, you're right, I'm not sure in general how many people will know that. The sentiment that I've noticed on social media is most people on a lot of social sites are, you know, leaning towards his favor after, like, because, you know, TMZ and all them would circulate the voice notes, and it's mostly come out positive for him from what I can see. But also, when they aren't in favor of him, they're like, we just want both of these people to go away. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people who are like, will this just end already? So it's kind of like,
well, now let me say that seems to me to be peculiar. It could end already. You just don't have to watch. Nobody says you have to continue to pay attention if you think it's too much.
I totally agree, but you can't say that to the people in an Instagram comment section and expect them to soak it in. They're just like, we just want to be mad about something. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm seeing a lot of. There's like, can these people just get off my screen? I'm like, you can just unfollow the page.
I said it's pretty easy to get them off your screen. I have trouble finding things. I wouldn't have any trouble getting rid of them.
Yeah.
You know, on this topic, I just looked, and I still think that some of the so-called legacy media are still producing, you know, content on her side. I don't know how many people read the Hollywood Reporter. That may also be a sort of an in the lane type thing.
Yeah.
But they've done 3 articles from February, and the last one was April 30th, talking about the secret smear machine. And it's the Wayfarer Baldoni side, and they're not saying anything about what might have happened on the other side, nor are they talking about whether this can be supported factually, or how much of this is simply you get your publicist going because you want to maintain your media presence and a positive view in the media.
Yeah,
So,
they latch those headlines onto Justin's case because that's the case that's getting the most buzz right now. But those cases that they're talking about in those articles are mostly about a case going on in Australia right now, which is Rebel Wilson and Charlotte McKenzie, I think.
okay.
And then there's Rebel Wilson and Amanda Ghost, where tied to the same movie where the same crisis PR firm was used. And then there is also, I think, a couple others. There's Alexa Nicholas, who was a child star with Nickelodeon, who has said that crisis PR firm wronged her in some way. And there's also, I think there was one more. Oh, the Alexander brothers apparently tried to hire that crisis PR firm. I don't know what all they did, if anything, for them. Technically, that firm, I think one of the people who worked for the firms did. But so there are a lot of cases that this crisis PR firm is now being brought up. And I think we're starting to see a trend where people are like suing over bad publicity. And I'm like, well, this stuff has been, all of these people in Hollywood have been using these PR cannons against each other behind the scenes. It's just who's going to sue over it first at this point. To me, it's like we're all jumping on the train is kind of what it looks like to me. But, and I'm not saying it's a good thing that PR firms do that kind of thing, but I'm saying this is the industry that you work in. Let's not pretend that this is a unique situation.
Right. I agree.
Like Blake Lively hired a crisis PR guy to do all kinds of things, I'm sure. His name was Nick Shapiro, who had a history with the CIA. And nobody talks about that because her crisis PR is not being sued. So that stuff's not coming out in Discovery. So you're seeing one side's crisis PR strategy, and it's not really a fair portrayal because you have no idea what she's doing behind the scenes. I mean, you can put it together, but.
Yeah. Well, I think that I was at least a little naive, because what really surprised me about this case from start to finish, and in a lot of ways, is the power that someone like Blake Lively, maybe mostly through her husband, Ryan Reynolds, has to control what the mainstream media say and the way they cast their stories. Because, I mean, it's pretty obvious when I think about it, People Magazine or whatever the magazine is wants a contact, wants to be able to get to talk to big name stars. It pushes their sales and everything else. But the idea that they would actually not cover stories fairly or be so pressured by the people who have the big names into writing a story their way really shocks me. I mean, I was a journalism major and I believe in the First Amendment completely, but it shocks me that that's how some of this journalism is, which is why the New York Times piece of this really bothers me greatly.
Yeah. Well, that was filthy journalism, like absolutely disgraceful, if you ask me, because they were sitting on all this evidence in texts that came out in the lawsuit that they say they had when they started working on the article, right, which was months before Blake filed the CRD complaint. And they had all that time, had all those text messages from the PR people that are saying, this isn't us, we're not doing this. And they chose to exclude those text messages on purpose, to mislead the public into thinking that their story that they were telling they had a stronger case to tell.
Yeah, well, you want to tell everybody a little bit about how the Times got that story and what it was that the New York Times actually said in the piece that they did, or that she did. I think female writer. I don't remember her name, but
Megan Twohey is the writer.
Okay.
So Blake, not Blake, but Justin had Stephanie Jones as his her firm. Jonesworks was his publicist agency, and Jennifer Abel worked for Jonesworks, and she was his main publicist. When Jen Abel and Justin Baldoni had a falling out with Stephanie Jones, Stephanie took Jennifer Abel's phone and stole the contents off of it, including her personal messages between her and her fiance, among other things, and basically turned it over to Blake Lively. Blake then went through those messages, decided to start building a case off of it, apparently provided them to the New York Times, and they had 2 months of working on that before the CRD complaint was filed, and at the same time, the New York Times article came out.
Right. And there are also some texts that I saw, texts or emails, I don't recall which, where there were people at the Times who had said to who was the main editor with regard to responsibility for the story, I think we should get the other side. This story, there are things that don't ring right. There may be some evidence here. And the top brass there said, no, this is the way we're doing it, and we're going with it immediately. And they only did they give him even 24 hours to respond before they went?
I don't believe so. It was the weekend before Christmas, and they did not give him a full 24 hours. They gave him like a set amount of time, and there's no way you could respond to all those heavy allegations in that amount of time, especially when people are traveling the weekend before Christmas. They're in different time zones. There was just no way. It was like at nighttime on the weekend before Christmas.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going ahead with this tomorrow or something. So I can't remember the exact dates, but
right. And that really set the tone for the story that went out first. And once the story goes out, you're fighting uphill to dislodge the impression that's been put or placed in the public. So it becomes much harder. Yeah, the Times part of this really troubles me no end, and I would like to do a little deep dive into it to see.
Yeah.
And they, and so far, they have been immune because of the reporter privilege, the privilege that newspapers have, which is very strong in New York.
Yeah.
With regard to stories. That was a privilege that was established because the civil rights, cases, giving newspapers some ability to write without being sued right and left, and stopping them from really being the independent, third arm of government, and being able to say, here's what happened. And it seems to me the Times absolutely misused it.
I'm not sure, I'm not sure what can be done, honestly, because I'm sure there are exceptions, but I feel like that should extend so far as to, if you've had that information for 2 months and it's not yet in a legal document and you're building this whole story, you're actually not building a story based on what's in a legal document. You're building on what's going to be in one. But you haven't verified that or, done anything to make sure that what's being said is true with the other side. So I don't think that should be protected. I think if there is a legal document out there and you start writing an article or start telling a story about it based on those allegations, I think that should absolutely be protected. But in the build up to that, conspiring behind the scenes for months, no, I don't think that's appropriate at all.
Well, they're not then acting as journalists. They're acting at arms for the party about whom they're going to write the story. So it seems to me there's room in the law to be able to see that as different. But law aside, journalism ethics should be that when you get a story like that, you do your due diligence and see if there's another side to the story. And when you have some information that suggests there's another side to the story, to simply not report it and just go with one side,
Right.
it may be legal, but it's certainly not within what the ethics of journalism are.
Right.
So
I mean,
that one was really troubling to me.
It's not like they're doing this over like some, corporate lawsuit between businesses that nobody cares about. They're taking an issue like retaliation for reporting sexual harassment in the workplace, which is the thing that affects many women in our country, unfortunately. They're taking an issue that like hits hard deeply for a lot of people, and they're treating it with like a lot of frivolity, if you ask me. And I'm just like, this is completely inappropriate. I don't support it. I'll probably never take anything seriously that they report again because of that. But not everybody will see it that way because they won't know what happened behind the scenes.
That's the problem that this settlement, that's an aspect of the problem that I have on the outside with the settlement. Because had this case actually gone to trial, I think more of this would have come out. Now, the other problem I have is this wouldn't have been streamed or televised anyway.
Right.
And it seems to me that also covers what may be very bad conduct that we as the people, these are our courts. Now, I'm not in New York, but there are people in New York.
Yeah. You're close to New York. I think you're close enough.
I'm New York adjacent.
like literally adjacent.
Yeah, absolutely adjacent. Well, there is water. I don't know if you can say you're adjacent to another state when you have to get through water to get there.
Right.
But I mean, this is the reason why the Sixth Amendment says sex is criminal, but says that we have public trials. It's why the First Amendment guarantees the right of the press and the people to information. It's because it's our government, and we've got a right to see how well our government is doing and whether the government is operating appropriately or not. Mm-hmm. And when you can't stream, it closes off a door. Now, true, people can go and watch, but you were there for a couple of the hearings, so nobody was going to be able to get in. There were many people.
Yeah, we're at the point where like I was having to pay for a line saver. That's how crazy it was, because there was going to be an overflow room. But I heard with Neidigh, like you had to be lined up outside like at like midnight the night before. I was like, it's not humanly possible to sit in the courtroom all day and then to line back up at midnight. That's not human. So like not a lot of people were going to be able to be there every day. So I was having to pay for line savers, who really great business that they have out there, by the way. I had no idea they even had people to do that until I went out to one of those hearings. But I had to pay for line savers who were going to stand there basically for like 5 hours so I could sleep for 5 hours and then I could like meet them. And take their place in line.
So is that how you found the line savers, by being there once? I thought maybe you went online and they sort of publicized their services at a trial.
I heard somebody use them. I think it was Lauren Conlon. I don't know if you know her or have heard her before, but I think she might have mentioned it. It might have not been Lauren actually, because Lauren goes through the media access it. So it wasn't Lauren. Who was it? I can't remember, but somebody who went to Neidhigh's trial had mentioned it. And so I looked them up when I was out there for the hearing. And then, so I texted them the night before and I was like, is there any chance you have someone available for this? And they said, yes.
And so you got the help. I heard you say a little earlier, and I'm sure you're going to do a full program on this. And I'm urging everyone who's on this chat to watch. Lauren really is the person who knows more about this case, I think, than anyone else. And she's very, very, very insightful about it and very measured. You heard her say she could see why they might have wanted to settle. And you heard me say I would have gone. She didn't give me an apology. We were going to court that way. And I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So you get a much more measured, thoughtful analysis from her. But I heard you say that you thought Justin Baldoni would be all right after this. Why do you think that?
He seems to be very close-knit, with a lot of support within his little community. I know he and Jamie, who was another party of the lawsuit, they're in business together, but he and Jamie and Steve, they all seem very close and very supportive of each other. And I just feel like, at some point they're going to get through this rough patch where it's like after the lawsuit and all this bad publicity happened. And I have faith in a way that's like, it's like unexplainable and I can't justify it with any evidence, but I have faith that some opportunity will open up for him somewhere down the line and he'll be able to build his career back up from there. I think maybe he'll never be an actor again, but I know he liked directing from what I could tell. It seemed like when you see those behind the scenes clips, it seems like he was, really enjoying the work that he was doing. So I think that his career, it'll bounce back. Maybe not exactly how it looked before, but I think he's going to be okay.
Okay, because
Maybe as a producer, maybe as a writer. I don't know.
I've heard other creators think he's never going to be what he was, and he's never going to be able to resurrect the career in any way, shape, or form to the level it was going or might have become.
I just think that from what I've come to know about Justin, because when I started following this lawsuit, I will never support the other side of a sexual harassment lawsuit like this unless I feel like I really know what I'm talking about. So I reached out to people who know Justin, who have had their careers, positively impacted by Justin, who worked with him on different sets or otherwise in editing and whatnot. And I said, who is this guy? Because if you want to answer me and give me some insight, I'm just trying to figure out, like, who is this guy? And they said all the most wonderful things about him and who he was as a person and what he was passionate about when they were working together. I said, I'm not asking about Blake because I didn't want to ask anything inappropriate. I didn't want to ask about the lawsuit or anything like that. I said, I'm not going to tell anyone what you said to me. Like, I'm not going to give your name. You know what I mean? But I just want to know, who is this guy to you? Is he really the way that people describe him? Is he really the guy that, people who say like unicorn you see on TV? And he's not a unicorn, but he is apparently a very amazing person. And from what I can tell, based on the way that he's been described to me by people who love him and who know him very well, he doesn't necessarily want to be what people thought he should be. You know what I mean? Like, that's not necessarily the path that he wanted. So it's like, maybe he's not losing as much as people think. Maybe he still gets to do what he's passionate about without being, the star in a film or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think that he is going to be okay. It's just not going to look how most people would think that a Hollywood star would want it to look,
Yeah. Well, but even if he's okay, it should have been his choice that he wanted to segue into being a director, or he didn't want the limelight the way some stars seem to crave it and not be forced into it by her. How do you think she's going to do?
Oh God, I don't care. I'm sorry. Just to be honest, I'm like, just go away. I just, the way that lady came at me, I was just like, hello. I have blocked you on social media. You don't need to listen to me talk.
Happened?
Like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't, to be honest, I don't want to pay attention to how things go for her. I just want her to not ever be a part of my life. So I try not to think about it, to be honest.
See, thoughtful and measured, where I want her to have negative consequences, because in my opinion, she acted in a way that was completely off the charts.
Yeah.
Not professional, not kind, all me.
Yeah.
And to be able to go unscathed, if that's what happens, will trouble me.
I hope that doesn't happen. Like, I would find it very irritating if she just moved forward with no impact to her career. I think that I do think that there's going to be at least a little bit of a hit there. I think, unfortunately, with celebrities, it's like they have so much to, like, resources and all that at hand with their PR people and their connections behind the scenes, especially, Ryan Reynolds' wife. Like, I think there's just too much power there for it to be a lasting impact. But I do think you'll see for a little bit, she won't be able to get much work, is my opinion. And I think that it is exceedingly difficult to get me to, like, want to see somebody fail, no matter how much I don't like them, no matter what they do to me. But, like, and especially because I think about, like, all their kids and stuff like that. But like, it is exceedingly difficult to make me want to see someone fail in life. But I think that she deserves the little bit of a bump that she's going to get, this bump in the road, which I don't know how long it's going to last, but I do think that she's going to take a hit. Yeah.
And you deserve commendation for feeling that way. Misdemeanor wants to know whether you think Blake thinks this is a win.
Oh, of course. Of course, everything's a win for Blake. When Blake lied in her deposition, that was a win for Blake somehow, I'm sure. Oh, God.
We do find in covering these trials that there is a psychological state, a mental state, a way of thinking that is a common thread. Now, it doesn't always lead to murder or serial murder or, violent crime, but it leads to things like, stalking and saying I'm pregnant 5 different times when you're not, and, and causing all kinds of havoc and damage and personal trauma to the men that you do that to. And here you have the star who's, the same, it seems to me it's the same behavior, same thinking pattern. It just comes out in various degrees of really antisocial behavior.
Yeah.
And on that continuum, this is not very far along compared to going out and starting to kill somebody because that person may tell the public that you've been sleeping with her when she was 13.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and I think I know I get a skewed view of it because I see so many of these and I start extrapolating to thinking that there are a lot of people in the world like that. And I like to believe that it's really not true. It's that these are the ones that come to the surface when we watch these trials, and we don't see all the others who lead normal, reputable, kind, considerate, responsible lives.
Yeah.
So, this is really a troubling case. I was going to ask you something else about Blake. What we've seen now, I don't know how much of it came out in the traditional or the legacy media, but what we've seen in Blake is really a pattern of behavior that is, let me say, not exemplary. And you had that interview with Floss, where, I mean, you could see on her face, the interviewer's face, how uncomfortable she was with Blake ignoring her in the interview. Not to mention what she was saying, but just the ignoring of it. And, the quote of she would get on a film as an actress and then try to take it over. I'm paraphrasing and exaggerating a little. I heard Tommy Lee Jones once on it was the Actors Studio, and they used to bring in actors to talk about their careers. And he came on, and I remember him saying that when he's on a film, the director is in charge, and his job is to do what the director wants. His job is not to direct the film.
Right.
And that's a major star, actor who's got acting chops that I think Blake will never get near.
It seems like there's just such a basic boundary to follow, and she just has no understanding of how to follow that line, you know?
Nor does she have any appreciation of why she's getting the pushback she gets.
Right.
It's never, I mean, this, as I say, it's this mental state you see in people. Never does she think it might be her. I don't know what you think, but I think she honestly believes that the criticism on social media was put up by the other side, that it couldn't have been.
Yeah.
I guess the word today is organic. It couldn't have been that people just watched it and came to independent conclusions. It had to be that, Baldoni's group was putting people up or paying them to do it. It's extraordinary.
I think it's a two-part issue, and I think they've got, on the one hand, the first part, it's a hypothetical where they're saying, like, this side, Baldoni's side, boosted these stories to make more negative stories appear in front of people. But then she won't even acknowledge the second issue here, which is that people are allowed to have their own feelings and reactions to the content that's put in front of them. And I'm not a fan of this, like, the fact that things can be so manipulated in our algorithms and social media these days. I don't like that at all, but I'm saying, like, don't, like, use it to crucify somebody because people are having negative reactions to what they're seeing, when all of these rich people in Hollywood are using the same kind of systems to prop themselves up. And so, like, I'm not going to feel a lot of sympathy for you because somebody's putting out a negative article to respond to negative things you said about them. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to have my own reaction to it. I'm not going to be like, well, I shouldn't have seen this, so I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen. You know what I mean? So there's, like I said, she's just like, I've said this before, but she just, like, doesn't want to acknowledge the actual feelings behind the criticism she's getting. She just wants to say, well, they shouldn't have been paying attention to that anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, not just the actual feelings, but the substance behind the criticism. It's not how you react emotionally to it. It's that you look at the hard information on the page. You look at one of the things early on in this case, which was her saying, he came on to me, however she put it, in a scene and it was unwarranted, and you see the dance scene, and then he comes forward and provides the audio of it, which is
Right.
very different. I mean, that's just, misrepresenting the facts. And I think she did this throughout, which is to pick a quote or a part of an email, or not the whole exchange, so you don't get context.
Mhm.
And I assume that you agree.
Yeah, I mean, with the not just with that, but also with the her and her attorney Sigrid Macaulay, who she hired basically just to do press for her, is what it seems like. Would she would have her lawyer stand up there and say Mr. Baldoni felt it appropriate to describe his genitals to women who worked for him, and it was like a conversation before they ever worked together, a conversation between them when they were friendly at her house, where she brought up circumcision because she was about to have her first boy, and it's like that was a totally different context than what she's been saying in the press, which is Mr. Baldoni randomly describes his genitals to people.
Well, she
And
had
so,
the same thing when she described the birthing video as
right?
pornographic, which, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever the other circumstances there, and I think there was a much bigger context than what she provided.
Yeah.
To describe one of those videos as pornographic, that he showed me a pornographic film, or he had a pornographic film shown to me, just seems to me to be over the top. Do you think
That
she
was
believes what
crazy.
she says?
Yeah. I don't know. I think some of it she does believe that, because she's like trying to find a way to justify bringing this lawsuit forward, right? But some of it is just like so outlandish that I think like it had to be like a legal Hail Mary. Like, so for example, there was a document where they were trying to tie this case to California, which ultimately got dismissed because California law didn't apply to this because it happened in New Jersey. But they were trying to tie the case to California, so they said Mr. Heath had sent a private text message, I guess, to Mr. Baldoni or one of the other parties and said, "We are birthing Miss Lively into the role of Lily Bloom," and she called that misogynistic and sexist and like somehow perverse for reducing her talents to her gender and being a woman. I was like, are you kidding? Is that a joke? I can't tell what's that. This is a legal document. You guys know you submitted this, right? This isn't a draft. Like, what is happening here? And obviously the judge didn't buy it. But
Well, I mean, you are so much more familiar with this case than I am, but my own picture of it is,
I would urge you to save yourself from reading some of that.
well, there's so many cases with so many documents. It's not that I'm unwilling. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. They're only 24 hours a day, even if I never slept, and I can't get somebody to stand online for me while I'm trying to sleep or read the document. So I can't do it.
I was actually gonna be Joe's online person.
But I will say that my picture of it is, she went into this thinking she was going to try to take over and become the director. She wanted to be more than a director, and thought she could make a couple of claims. She could push. I mean, at one point she threatened not to come in, all those things to get her way. And she got herself into a bind when she first made the first public complaint that was, I think it was the dance scene, maybe it was something else. And then she got caught. And after that, she's sort of chasing around trying to find more things that she can say to substantiate her case. And maybe she then believed them all, but I think she was in a chase to find anything that she could find.
Yeah.
And I think her comeuppance was that she finally went after someone who had somebody with a lot of money behind him, who was willing to say, ultimately, we're just not going to cave. We're going to put the money out. You put your money out and let's have at it.
Yeah. Right.
So I interrupted you. You were going to say something while I was on my little.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was just going to give another example of I was going to say like the footage where they had the scene where she was giving birth in the movie, where her character is giving birth in the movie. And she was like, they made me be mostly naked for the whole day without an intimacy coordinator, and I had nothing but a strip of fabric over me. And like, then you see the footage, and it's like she's got a whole hospital gown on, a prosthetic belly, and like black underwear. And I'm like, honey, those are underpants. You're not naked. Like, what are you talking about? There's just so much going on there that she misdescribed.
That's the thing that I think is so extraordinary. And she had lawyers, at least for a good part of this.
Yeah.
You give part of a story And you expect that the other side is not going to provide the other part of the story?
Yeah.
I can understand that dancing because I really think she didn't think there was footage that had audio to it.
Right.
So I thought, that one she thought she was going to be free on. But the emails and the texts where they're taken out of context, you don't think somebody else is going to say, okay, let me show you the whole context?
Yeah.
That to me is extraordinary lawyering.
Yeah. Well, she should have asked somebody to get rid of the text messages too, not just the dailies.
Oh my Lord.
Everybody delete your emails.
All right. So this case is over. The lawsuit with Jones and Abel, we think, is going to continue.
Yes.
There's a slight chance that maybe something will happen in the New York Times situation.
Yeah.
Anything else out there that might surface more of the information that maybe we haven't seen yet?
I don't think so. There's like a mildly related case in California state court where I think it's state court. No, it's LA Superior Court. So is that state court? I don't know. But
yes, if it's Valley, it would have to be.
Okay.
A Superior Court is always state court. In federal court, it's district court of appeals, Supreme Court. So Superior is always.
So it's LA Superior Court, and somebody is suing Brian Friedman for statements he made, I guess, on like when he was representing Justin Baldoni in this case. I guess Brian represented a guy, Travis Flores, in a lawsuit against Justin a long time ago over copyright. There was a walkaway settlement. Nobody was at fault. Nothing wrong happened. They figured that out quickly when they saw the evidence, and so they settled the case, walk away. But the man Travis Flores unfortunately passed away. He was part of the CF community, and his surviving spouse and his estate, on behalf of his estate, was trying to sue Brian Friedman for malpractice, defamation, among other things, for saying in the press, when asked about this in the course of the Blake Lively lawsuit, saying, we found that Justin and Wayfarer had no wrongdoing. I found they were exceedingly ethical, honorable people, blah, blah, blah. So basically like saying good, favorable things about Justin and the Wayfarer parties, which the surviving spouse of Travis Flores says was inappropriate in a lot of ways. So that's kind of going on. I don't expect anything really deep in this lawsuit to come out, but there's still a little bit attached there to the press statements that will have to be litigated out there. Brian Friedman did bring an anti-slap, and it was partially dismissed, but not fully. So,
do you think she and Ryan Reynolds will be able to adhere to their part of the deal and say nothing and not insinuate anything with regard to this settlement?
I think it would be in her best interest. So no.
Well, yeah. That is not responsive, let me tell you.
No, I don't know. I think for a while, yes, but it's got to be very difficult because she really came out guns blazing with her Instagram statement after the judgment on her, thinking about throwing out 10 of her claims, and she was like,
victory.
And she was like making little flurry templates with like special quotes from the judge that she thought was in her favor, and like posting them on Instagram and being like, don't write this off as celebrity drama. See yourself in my story. I'm doing this for everyone. Yay. And then like now she's settled the lawsuit. What happened to doing this for everyone?
Well, so I have on their own.
I have a very hard time believing that she'll never say anything. You know what I mean? After that, I have a hard time believing it. Let's put it that way.
Do you think, and see, this is what really will rankle with me if it happens. Do you think she's going to be invited on talk shows and treated as though nothing happened? Late night shows,
Not soon.
Not
I
soon.
do. I honestly think that. What's up?
I said, how about him? How about Ryan?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I think it's gross. Yeah. But I think that it will happen. I think that's how Hollywood works. I think he's got a lot of influence and power and money that he can just like kind of make some of this go away on his regard. So I do think that, yeah.
Some of his conduct was just as bad as hers, but you do think that will happen.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like he's like more chronically online than I am. You know what I mean? Like that's I was reading some of those texts and I was like, holy crap, dude. If I had those people's kind of money and like I could do anything I wanted in the world, it would not be to watch TikToks about myself. So I'm like, get a grip, dude. I don't know.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see whether we see, but I don't think she should be um,
Yeah.
allowed that. Here's my hope, and I hope someone is listening who can transmit my hope to the right people. I hope South Park does an episode about this, and I don't think they will take
Yeah.
these are big deal Hollywood stars, and we're just going to take their story and not do anything with it.
Right.
So there's my hope that at least we get that, a South Park episode.
I hope so too. I liked I like when Weekend Update on SNL when they do their little quick roasts. You know what I mean? I don't know if you watch that show, but I like it.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope that some of the comedians go after it, because
Right.
they don't, this would fall right within their basket of talent, and would be very, very, very good content for them. And they're not as concerned about, the Daily Show also would be another place where I think they could do a good job on this.
Who's hosting the Daily Show now?
They've got 3 or 4 hosts that come on, and trying
Who's
to think.
on Good Morning America this morning? What?
See, this is just, well, the settlement hadn't happened yet, but they know all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I understand, I watched some of these interviews, and I understand why some of the most pointed, direct questions are not asked. It's because you've invited the guest on, and it doesn't have to be entertainment. It can be a politician. It can be anything. You invite the guest on, and you are under some constraints about how much you go after someone who has come onto your show. But I just hope that they do as much as they're able to do. I saw somebody said, yes, South Park. Well, that's my idea. Let's try to get that done.
Yeah.
That would at least make me happy.
Yeah.
Because I'm not happy about this settlement. Not that anybody cares. Not that I have any right to have an opinion about it one way or the other. But I'm not happy. So thanks so much for coming on at the last minute. I really appreciate it.
Of course. No problem.
Is there anything that you want to add that you haven't said?
I don't think so. I saw a couple super chats. I don't know if we want to look at those.
Oh, sure. If there's something that they're saying or asking. Amber, can you pull some of these up? Okay. You've got Cynic in Chief. Oh, I'm with you. Cynic in Chief. Thank you for the gift. Wow. Settlement shouldn't be surprising. Both are losing money daily. Lively's losing reputation. The perjury trap she has to settle. Well, there's really not a perjury trap there. I know in the deposition you have to do it under oath, and if she gets on the stand and says something different, you can make the argument for perjury, but it has to be material, and perjury charges are rarely pursued by prosecutors.
She's not doing a Laura Owens.
Yeah, that's right. There's a point at which it's so over the top that nobody can ignore. That's right. Yeah. Laura Owens is the counter. Actually, she's the example who proves the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Laura Owens is the kind of person who will get sued for prosecution.
There's an exception to the rule, and here's what it looks like.
That's right. See, I agree with you, Fernando. Thank you for the super chat. I too wish we had gotten a very public apology. Oh, from the Times now. Oh, I agree with you there too. They should have fessed up and said, we got it wrong. And I don't understand why. I mean, I think they think it'll be buried, but I think for their own reputation, for their own sense of journalistic worth, they should say, we got caught up in it. We so much believed, the information that we had. She was filing that, that complaint. We wanted to get it out right away because, we're in a business where the first person out gets the attention, right. And we could have done a better job. Yeah. And they were insulated from litigation anyway. I think that would have been so much better. Oh, thank you, Peachy Keen. I appreciate it. And I don't know why people don't more often just fess up and say, I'll do better next time. And there's Allison Baldoni. Lauren, do you know Allison Baldoni?
No.
My Father's Alibi. Oh. She had that channel, which she has now essentially taken down, at least for a while. I don't know if she'll ever put it back up again. When she was a 5-year-old, I believe she was 5, her father she believes, and I think the evidence is there, murdered her mother. And he's
Oh.
been able to escape a prosecution for what, 40 years, I think it is. I'm getting the years wrong, Allison, but you can correct me. And she, a few years ago, and for a while, she kind of sublimated her memory of what had occurred, but after she gave birth to her first child, it started coming back. She actually turned out to be a witness that her father used, not really a witness, but he claimed that she was in the house and that he would not have murdered anyone with his daughter in the house. But in any event, a few years ago, she started this channel in an effort to generate public information about the case and support to get that case prosecuted. And she was successful. Charges were finally brought last December or so. Oh, look at that. I'm adorable and endearing. I'm going to get back to Allison, but this one I can't go without. I want you to know, Mom Bug, that anybody who knows me well, family and close friends, people who like being around me, would not call me adorable or endearing. They might call me a lot of other things, but adorable and endearing, not
your digital footprint is very adorable.
But in any event, Allison, finally, and it was through her, being indefatigable and her efforts that he's being prosecuted. So she took down the channel because she doesn't want to be in a position of saying something that could be used in the trial, which is certainly very wise, but everybody misses her. But she comes in and is very kind and listens, follows some of the other cases. And I'm glad she's here now. But anyway, that's Allison. So my hair matches my shirt. That's because I had to find a shirt today. It's not a good color for me, as you can tell. It washes me right out. But it was the one that was in the closet, and I thought, I'm going to wear it.
Wait, turn your head to the right for me.
My right or your right?
I'm here. I want you to turn that way. Yes, it's the shirt. It looks just like the shirt.
I should do this when I cover a trial. They'll think I'm coming out of prison or jail just to cover the event.
You just need some decorative handcuffs.
Okay, Sanders, this is a different issue. Sanders 14 wants to know if I'll cover the judge's response in the Kara case. You mean the judge's response on the motion to dismiss? I thought I did something, I'm reading so much stuff. I thought I might have done something on it. I will at some point, but let me look and see if I did or not before I say I'm going to do it, as I may have done already. Canero, Lauren, is a case in New Jersey. There were 3 brothers. One of them was just convicted of murdering his older brother and the brother's wife and 2 small children, and then burning down their house and setting fire to his to try to cover up what he had done. And the reason for that question is there was a defense lawyer at the trial who drove the chat crazy. And I will have to admit that she drove me crazy too. Should be. She would ask the same question over and over again. If an objection was sustained, she'd ask the question again. And the judge was entertaining, but I worried about it. And I said it at the time because he would be visibly exasperated at times. A couple of times he made his own objection and sustained himself, because the other thing that annoyed him greatly was the prosecutor wasn't objecting to things that he could have objected to. The prosecutor, as a matter of strategy, thought she's probably annoying the jury. Let her go. I'm not going to do anything. But those of us who were watching had a lot of trouble with it. And at the end of the trial, they made a motion to dismiss. And one of the claims was that the judge showed his bias and that influenced the jury. So that's going to be an appealable issue. He denied the motion, but it's going to be an issue on appeal. And in fact, on one of the sidebars, because we now have seen the transcripts of the sidebars, she asked him if he would be nicer to her in front of the jury, which I thought was a very, let me see how I could put this. It was not the most mature phrasing of the request she had. Uh, but in any event, that's what that reference was.
Yes.
Okay. And here's Marilyn. Imagine the frustration knowing what we know and the judge finds it irrelevant for a contract claim. The jury would never hear what we know. Well, that's always true. It's always much more that the jury never gets to hear.
Yeah.
Always true. So Lauren, you were supposed to come up to New York for a week, and I heard you say on your show that you might come up anyway because you've got all this stuff booked.
So in order to get like a much lower rate on the place I was staying, I booked at a much lower rate, but I couldn't get a refund after May 2nd. And today is May 4th. So I have to go with for that first week because I can't get my money back anyway. So I'm going to go out there and I'll be there. And I don't know if you are free at any point during that time. But
I'll talk to you about it. I certainly can come in. Okay. This is, let me give you, this already. Settlements often occur on the eve of trial because that's when it becomes abundantly clear to everybody that they're actually going to have to do it. And so you get a lot of settlements like this one, or even the day of, even the morning of, of trial. A lot of settlements happen that way. So, but you're going to spend a week in New York, and New York has theater and great and wonderful museums and great restaurants and wonderful walks and music and jazz. And I mean, New York has everything.
I haven't been there. I haven't been there for anything fun in a while. I went to that hearing. I've been there for a conference. I have not been there for anything leisurely in a while. So yeah, I guess I'll be there for a little bit. But yeah, I used to live there actually for a little bit. I did a semester at John Jay. So I lived in student housing out there, which was not the greatest, but it was a place to stay. You know what I mean? So I've been there for a little bit, but that was 8 years ago now. So, I haven't been able to spend much time there lately, just going out. So
well,
I'm going to do some of that.
New York will be happy to have you. All right. I really don't want to, call on your time anymore, but we will. Let's talk about next week.
Yeah, sure.
Text or phone, and and I will definitely come in at least once.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so thanks so much, everybody here. This is Lauren Neidigh. How do you pronounce it? I'm getting it wrong.
You got it right that time. You got it right that time.
Neidigh.
I don't remember what you said in the beginning, but when you brought me in here,
my mouth just doesn't want to go where it's supposed to go.
No, nobody gets it right. It's okay. Nobody gets it right. It's fine.
But I knew what it was. I mean, you think if you get it right once, you could continue to get it correct, but apparently not.
But
anyway,
not always how our brains work. We would like it too.
You have more than one channel, don't you?
What's that?
Do you have more than one channel?
Not really. Just this one.
Okay, you've got a different.
I had one that I used to use for. I did editing show reels just for fun, but I don't really use it anymore.
Okay. Well, she's a court of random opinion, and when she covers something, she really covers something. She reads all the documents, and then she remembers everything she reads. So I really recommend the channel to all of you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and a lot of what she covers is a little lighter than, certainly a little lighter than the murders and the serial killers and the rapists and everything else that the true crime channels cover. So
if I want to hear about murder, I'll just come to you.
That's anytime.
Somebody's bleeding out. That made me think of Joe.
That's right. You hear something about a brutal, a knifing, a stabbing.
Hey Joe, saw the stabbing, thought of you.
And you say, "Oh God, let me find her channel." Oh, here's P. Mahon. He needs a 12-step program to handle disappointment. Not ready to stop trashing on the rentals. Well, you don't have to stop because the trial is over.
Yeah, that's not part of the settlement.
They settled. You didn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Bye.
Thank you.